What's good YouTube, it's Adam from imamusicmogul and welcome to another video. In this one I'm going to show you a technique that is used by pro industry professionals, and it's probably something you won't hear off the bat, but I encourage you to, after this video, go ahead and try it on some of your mixes, some individual sounds, and you're going to really hear how it cleans up your mixes in a way that you didn't think was possible. But it's really something you got to play with and keep playing with. This is something that is used in mastering but can also be used at the mixing stage as well, or when you're producing beats. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. So what I'm going to show you today is how to mono sum a bass, but only a set sort of range of frequency. Sometimes you have a bass element that has a lot of top end frequencies and you want it to shine on the top end to have that nice width on the stereo, but you want it to be nice and clean and mono on the sub or bass frequencies. For the most part, bass should always be mono. I say for most part because there are no rules in audio and you can do what you want, but for the most part, to have a nice clean bass without messing around with the stereo because it takes up a lot of space and warbles it a bit, you want bass to be nice and mono. And to do that, this is what we're going to show today. So over here is our bass sound from the remake we did last week. It's a bass sound. So what I'm going to do here is, just to start off to show you what's happening, I'm going to bring in logix multimeter. And this is just a visual way to see what's happening. Down the middle here is your mono, and then here is your left and right axis, and this will show you if something is wide or narrow. Now this bass, if I play it again, it's not extraordinarily wide, but it's wide. So the point of this video is to take the low end information, so the bass, the sub, and make that mono so that it's not affecting your stereo field, it's not taking up space, not making things sound weird, keeping it nice and clean and down the middle. And the stereo stuff, the stuff you want to have nice and wide, can be intact. So some would say just sum the whole bass to mono, and it's not the way to do it if you want some wide width on your mono. So the way to do that is I'm going to bring in an EQ here. All right, Logix EQ can have this function. You don't need anything special. I'm just going to push this off to the side. And instead processing the sound as a whole on the stereo, right? That processes the whole sound. We want to change the processing from stereo to side only, which will affect only the left and right channels, so your stereo field. And now if I pull it up all the way, it doesn't take out that sound like on the stereo field. It just cleans up all of that stuff that's happening on the left and right channels. And it's essentially what it's doing is summing it to mono. So if you look here now, it's mono. If I pull it back, you get some of that stereo information back. So with that said, anything effectively below whatever point you set here is going to be summed to mono, which would mean you're getting rid of the side information and just keeping the middle information, which is what you want for bass elements. Once again, there's no rules, but for the most part, bass should be set to mono. Anything below, and I don't want to tell you a number, but anything below between 100 and 200 hertz, you pretty much want to be nice, clean, and down the middle. So I'm just going to pull up my cue here a bit, and we're just going to slide this to taste here. So I'd probably just leave it around 150 hertz here. So anything more, you start to get rid of that width and you're taking some of the middle frequencies out of it, and you don't want to do that necessarily depending on the sound. If you just want to strictly focus on the bass sub information, just stick to the lower end frequencies. So now what we have effectively done was clean up everything below 135 hertz. That is going to be summed to mono, and everything above it is going to continue to carry that nice width information or left and right channel information. Right, so we still have it wide, but you can be rest assured that the low end is nice and mono coming down the middle, so your mixes become cleaner as a whole. So you might not hear the difference on an individual track itself, but in the long run, as you add different tracks, add more information, more low-end information comes into play and you start to get some of that weirdness happening on the stereo spectrum. So the same thing goes for an 808 as well. If I bring in a multimeter on this one, you'll see it's pretty mono. Most 808s are that are designed in the packs that you buy online. For the most part, they're mono, but you really want to make sure that the sub information is set to mono so you're not creating any havoc on the stereo field. Right? So what you do here is do the same thing. You bring up your channel EQ. You'll switch your processing over to side, and then you'll go ahead and just cut out anything you want. For like a bass or an 808 like this, I'd probably just stick to anything below 80, maybe even 100. Keep it nice and tight, and everything else can continue to carry that width. Right, but again, on an individual sound perspective, you're not going to hear a huge difference, but as these things start to add up with every track, it starts to build up, and it really helps clean up your tracks. Now, with that said, you want to do this very sparingly. You don't want to like go crazy and just take out everything, because then it's just going to take the life out of your tracks. And this is something that should be done subtly, because a little bit goes a long way here. Like as you can see, if I pull this up all the way, I'm just summing that to mono, and then all your tracks will be mono, and there's no fun in that. You want to have that space and dimension. So anything you do, keep it nice and clean. Once again, anything under 150 hertz is where you want to stick to have nice, clean mono stuff. Anything above can carry that width. And there are other ways to use mid-side EQing, and I could do more videos on that, but this is just one way to clean up and really tame the low end. And this is something that a lot of pros use. It's something that you should really play around with until you get the hang of it, because it's really, really powerful and really does change the way your mixes sound. So really go ahead and play with it. See how you like it. You're going to learn to like it, because it's going to be giving your mixes that nice, clean factor. Now, this is done a lot in mastering. So I should say this is sort of a tool that mastering engineers use to sort of clean up the bass, tighten it up. And they also like add to as well on the top end to add some stuff. We can get into that in another video, but even though you're doing this at the mixing stage, the mastering engineer will probably do this anyways. But it's just good for you to get in the habit of sending out nice, clean mixes, so that in case the mastering engineer doesn't do it, you got yourself covered. So if you do have any questions on this, I'm sure there's going to be a lot, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of debate of what should be done. It should bass be like this, but I just want to say as a blanket, there are no rules in audio. So whatever you want to do is up to you. As long as it sounds good to you, that's what matters, and that's what's important. So everything I'm giving you in this video is just general guidelines, but take this technique and apply it to your mixes. Now, if you want to apply this to your mix as a whole, I would personally use a linear phase EQ. So you would just go to your EQ and change that over to a linear phase EQ, and it just won't change up the sort of the dynamics between track to track. It'll just give you a nice clean cut. But that's probably for a whole nother video. Anyways, I've probably talked too much. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully this does clean up your mixes in a way you didn't think was possible. Definitely apply it to your tracks. See how it sounds. Play around with it. I encourage it. And we'll see you all in the next video. If you did like this video, remember, thumbs up this video. And of course, hit that subscribe button for more good videos like this one. I'll talk to y'all soon. Later. Peace.